Today I'm mixing up a super easy DIY metallic paste that you can use for your stencils, raised designs, or adding a little bit of shimmer to your projects. I've been testing a few combos and this works really well. Plus it's cheaper than buying that fancy stuff at the craft store. You only need a few things and you can totally customize it with whatever color or shine you want. Let me show you how to make it. To make this DIY metallic texture or stencil paste, you're going to need 1 tablespoon of joint compound. You can find this at hardware store very easily. They use it when they're putting up drywall or Amazon or even Walmart. So we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of the joint compound. And then you're gonna need some acrylic paint. I have a beautiful gold and a beautiful silver. I have seen some beautiful metallic paints at the craft store, copper. So you can adjust this recipe with whatever color that you want. Today we're gonna make it gold. So we're gonna give it a really good shake and we're going to use 1 teaspoon of that silver acrylic paint. I find the acrylic paint works the best opposed to using a latex paint, but you can always just experiment with it and see how the recipe works for you. Acrylic paint does work best though. And then we're going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of the Elmer's school glue. You can use the clear or you can use the white glue. Both are going to work fantastic. And we're just gonna add that to our joint compound and our acrylic paint. Now, here's where the fun comes. We're gonna mix this together really well. We want that paint and that joint compound incorporated so it's dispersed through the whole thing. And now you can add maybe some really fine glitter. You don't want to use a glitter or you can also use mica powder. I have some mica powder here too, but you want to make sure that it's a really fine shimmer. You don't want to use a chunky glitter because it's just not going to mix in with the recipe very well. So I'm just going to add a little bit just for some extra sparkle. And you can just use your eye with this. Just keep mixing until it's all put in. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more of that gold. Another thing that you can add to this if you have some gold eyeshadow, you can add that in right now at this point. It has the mica powder pigment in it, works fantastic. I have it all mixed together. It's got a beautiful shimmer already. The joint compound makes it durable and it makes it last longer. It's really tough. We're adding the glue because it's going to help everything stick together better. And of course that extra glitter makes it kind of shimmery, and you need to have that metallic acrylic paint. So I'm ready now to show you how you can use it on your projects. When you're applying the paste, you want to use a palette knife or an old gift card or a stencil spatula to apply it over your project. First, I have a little piece of cardboard that I cut out in a tag. We're going to use a corner of a stencil. Let's see where we want to put this. We'll level it up. And then we're going to get some of our stencil paste. Now you want to put it on thick enough so it's going to hold its shape, but not so thick that it's going to ooze underneath your stencil. Oh my goodness, look at the mess that I've made already. But you want to stencil it on. We're going to get some on the paper too. Might as well keep going. Now you want to make sure that you're lifting off your stencil before it dries. If you wait for it to dry before you take your stencil off, it's going to not give you that crisp edge. So we want it still wet so it gives a clean stencil. Oh my goodness, how beautiful is that? We've got a raised edge on our tag and a beautiful raised stencil that's shimmery and gold. Absolutely beautiful. And if you don't have a palette knife, no worries. If you have an old credit card or gift card laying around, it works fantastic also. You're just going to pick up some of that texture paste with the card, press it on your stencil. Again, just thick enough so it's going to give a raised look, but not too thick so it's going to be messy and you're going to get it all over the place. Lift off your stencil while it's still wet. And we've put a beautiful raised stencil on that piece of cardboard. You're also not limited to just using it on stencils. It works great on wood, on canvas signs, on paper, of course, jars, clay projects, and you can also just spread it on and it's going to give that beautiful shimmer with a little bit of texture to it. You can also use a palette knife and spread it. And you can make it as thick as you want. You can leave it thin and thick in places. The possibilities are endless. So there's lots of ways that you can use this paste. You can use it in your mixed media, canvas art, embellishing furniture, or maybe a thrifted drawer front. You can make handmade cards. It can be perfect for your junk journals or scrapbooks. Holiday signs, especially with this little bit of glitter. You can put it on your ornaments or you can decorate glass jars. Just use your imagination and whip some of this recipe up and give it a try. You want to make sure that you clean your stencil right away with maybe like a baby wipe or put it in some warm soapy water. Clean that up because that joint compound dries really hard. And you want to scrape off as much as you can before you wash it because we don't want that going down our kitchen sink drains. So you also want to set this aside and let it dry for maybe about 1 or 2 hours, depending on the thickness and of course your humidity and your weather in your area. You can always speed it up with a heat gun, but just make sure that you're not holding it too close because we don't want to overheat it because it might crack or it might bubble. So once it's dry, it's going to hold its shape. It's going to have this beautiful shimmer. And I'm going to come back after it's dry because I'm going to show you a few tips of how we can even take this to the next level. If you want to take your shimmer texture paste or your stencil paste even to the next level, grab your gold rub and buff and you can just put a little bit on a cloth or on your finger. And you can rub it on that raised portion of your stencil and it's just gonna make that gold pop even more. You don't need very much, just a little tiny bit. Don't have any gold rub and buff and you still wanna make it extra? Go through your nail polish stash. I have all kinds of colored, shimmered nail polish. You can take a little bit of that and paint it on top. I've got some blue here that's beautiful. Just paint it on top and it's going to give it a little bit of shimmer, or you can go over the whole thing. The possibilities are endless with this technique, so give it a try. I actually should have mentioned earlier, because I know I'm going to have comments down below, why couldn't we just put the rub and buff in the original recipe? And the reason that you can't is this recipe is water-based and rub and buff is oil-based. So we only want to put that rub and buff on top of the surface because it's kind of not going to incorporate well into that recipe. And if you want it to be extra durable, grab some matte clear coat and you can spray over this and seal it all up, which would be really great if you're doing it on furniture and it's going to make it really durable. When I'm making this recipe, I usually only make what I need for the project because it doesn't store really well. It dries really quickly. But if you do have a little bit left over, put it in a little container with a really tightly sealed lid, and it'll probably last for a few days for you. And that's it. This DIY metallic texture paste or stencil paste is such a game changer, and I hope you give it a try. If you like this one, you're definitely going to love the video I have linked right here. It's all about how to make your own antiquing wax at home. Super easy, super affordable, and perfect for giving your projects that aged vintage look. Just click on it and we're gonna meet you over there.